Marketing departments, solar contractors all look a little different. Some have 0 people in an outsourced agency model. Others have 2 people for hundreds of full-time employees. And some go big with dozens of people, which can entail jobs like content creation, events, digital spend, website, branding, in-person, podcasting, standing in retail locations, and everything in between. Some installers actually don't do any marketing at all. They've been in business for so many years, are super rooted in their communities, and have standing reputations that they lean on. They might have a majority inbound flow and convert anywhere from 40 to 75% of those leads. And the other end of the spectrum, you've got companies that are turbocharging their marketing with neighborhood hands out and blitzes, buying leads no matter what the price is and spending very aggressively on digital to draw traffic. There is no shortage of strategies for getting solar in the eyes, hearts, and minds of society, which is one of the reasons why cost of acquisition for customers, or CAC, is so high, and contractors will seemingly do anything for good leads. What's interesting is that I don't know too many other home improvement projects where leads are worth so much, where door knocking is so prevalent. I've never seen this for kitchen remodeling or bathroom upgrades or basement restorations. Perhaps it's because there isn't the savings and resilience components or the fear components of those other home improvement projects. There isn't the robust financing models in those other projects. It could also be because I live in the Northeast, or I just don't pay too much attention to this. Over the last few weeks, I've spoken with a handful of solar contractors about this subject. I found that installers are willing to pay a wide variety for leads, with some of them paying nothing and they find it useless, and others paying $10, $30, $50, or hundreds of dollars for leads. Many have gone back and forth on this and had a different strategy each year. Contractors are also willing to pay a lot for a referral from an existing customer. And even if a contractor just gets an address or a phone number or an email or any form of interest at all, that can be worth a lot. Now, as I was learning about the cost per leads, I was thinking that solar's margins must be pretty good having a CAC so high. Soft costs at the top of the funnel are really still a major area for compressing costs, which then underscored the drive that I'm seeing to go direct to consumer or AI-based design work. I was in Massachusetts recently, and I heard of someone who has a 30% kilowatt hour rate, and they were offering TPO products at 25 cents. Compare that with 9 or 10 cents in Kentucky or the low teens in the Midwest, and there's clearly a lot of regional disparity as well. Ultimately, it is interesting for installers to constantly explore how to drive leads. I know many are thinking outside of the box based on this past year, considering the economic climate and the challenges that solar has faced. Many marketing and sales departments are getting creative, digging deep, and exploring new options. Today, we'll be speaking with Austin Rosenbaum, the CEO and founder of Demand IQ, who's operated in this domain for many years. His company works with sales and marketing groups to optimize leads across the built environment. Welcome, Austin.
Hey, thanks, Jason. Glad to be here.
So what I'd love to do to start out is get your take on why do solar companies pay for leads? What in their business model facilitates that? How do you see them consider those decisions? What goes into the idea and the approach and the strategy of paying for leads?
I mean, you really have to look at it based on the stage, the stage that company's at. And so I think when many people kind of just begin their solar sales journey as a company, or even as an individual, they're constantly looking for leads. They get beyond referrals and their first sources of business, and then they say, well, what's next? What's next for my marketing? And, they say, well, I don't know anything about digital marketing, and I sure as heck don't want to knock on doors. So to them, the next best thing is to purchase leads and, to varying degrees of success. That's one reason. But then once you get to become a very large solar business, you kind of end up maxing out your marketing capabilities and saturating your market with the marketing that you're doing. So you may have a very sophisticated organization. We have a customer that does about 200 million in annual revenue, and they they have all of the different marketing sources. So they have their own internal lead generation. They have door knocking. They'll do radio and TV, and then they have a big third party lead buying program. And the reason for that is they need more. They need more volume, and so those third party leads is just another additional channel to fold in. So you kind of have like two situations. You have the beginner companies, the new startups, and then you have the mature companies. And I don't know if there's really much in the middle as far as lead buying goes. Maybe here and there, but there's so much process required to buy leads that those that kind of have it figured out have very sophisticated systems to buy leads.
Is there a lead strategy that you recommend most, or is there a matrix approach of a company in a certain region or a certain size you recommend a certain strategy for?
Yeah, I mean, there's probably like a waterfall of like, your first lead source, you want to start with, your friends and family and then referrals. And so if there's lots of great referral tools out there, one of them like Snowball. Snowball is a great referral tool that you can use to, help build appointments from your existing customers. And then at some point you're going to, max that out. And so your next question is, am I going to go buy those leads, or am I going to go, develop a marketing program to try to get them myself? I think that's a really difficult question. And I think it comes down to, your resources. I would say, again, we don't sell leads. So I want to be very clear that this advice is only coming, more secondhand than firsthand in terms of experience. But as far as buying leads goes, you need to have a really good call center. Like your follow up is everything when it comes to buying leads, and that's true of really any you know online lead in general. That like you're going to have a really dialed process for calling leads, and if you don't, or if you think that you can just sign up for some lead program and get them shipped to your email, and then you're going to call them when you have time, like you're just wrong, and you're not going to ROI on that. You need to have a dedicated caller with training and someone that's going to follow up. So it's a big undertaking, to go from that referral or organic business to like that more paid acquisition, either through your own channels or through a purchase lead program.
What I'm getting a sense is you can get the leads, but you got to do something with them to make them actionable, to make them live, to make them convertible. Walk
Yeah.
us through what the process is from when a lead is ingested, and what do you recommend a solar contractor do to efficiently convert it through? What do you see as a good workflow?
Man, there's so much, and this space is moving really fast. Actually, this is probably like potentially one of the most exciting AI applications that I'm aware of right now is in this category of follow up. And again, we're not necessarily a follow up tool. That's not what Demand IQ does. But again, some secondhand experience here. I know that a lot of customers have just tried and true call centers that they, staff a call center manager and that they hire folks to be able to be callers and really scale the heck out of that. Like that is a very tried and true model. Now, there are some ways of augmenting that system. I'm seeing some really, really interesting stuff coming in with AI calling and AI texting. I don't know to what degree of success that they're having with that. I know that I would say you can look at it as like an augmentation to your follow-up program, particularly with nights and weekends. So if you have callers, you live, say you're in the East Coast or whatever, you're 9 to 5 or 8 to 6 or whatever it is in your call center, but 40% of your leads are going to come in after hours. So what are you going to do about those? Well, the reality is that speed to lead matters, and that the rate of connection drops off by an exponential amount after the first 10 minutes and maybe even after the first 5. So you really need to be on top of your leads right when they come in, because people's attention spans are just getting shorter and shorter. So one of the ways to mitigate that and improve the conversion rate and success of your leads is to augment that call center with some sort of nights and weekends texting or AI calling system. Now, there's a lot of different tools out there that are doing AI calling. One of them that's been pretty impressive recently I've seen is Structurally. They have a pretty interesting AI calling system. I know that there's a number of AI texting platforms out there as well, like Hatch and Verse, and there's a whole list of them. But there's a lot you can do to augment your call center. But I just still think that if you're going to buy leads, you got to be ready to commit to having someone in that call center to just pound the phones. Like at least 9 to 5. You need that dedicated resource in order to make them convert.
I'm always impressed with your resourcefulness to find new technologies to build a process. Even from our first conversation, you were aware of the very niche softwares that plugged into different things to allow for you to have a great efficient workflow. So those are some interesting
Yeah.
suggestions. Um, I want to double down on the idea that you need to call quickly. Do you really think that if someone submits a lead through a website, that they would be open to getting a call back immediately in like 2 minutes, 5 minutes? They wouldn't find that weird or intrusive, or that would actually convert more effectively.
I mean, there's a study, I think it was done by like Harvard actually, about like the call efficiency and the speed of calling. And this is like every, marketer hangs their hat on this like 5 minute rule that you got to call them within 5 minutes. I think you'd be surprised that most people respond very positively. Like they're like, "Oh, you're on top of your stuff. Like you're giving me a call after that was fast. Thanks." I think there's a lot of I mean, solar's a little unique because they do call their leads more often than maybe some of the other contractor categories. Like if you look at, electricians, I've gotten I've put my information in blinds. So I did electrical and blinds project, and I put my information on these websites, and you're like, you don't get any, like, I didn't get a call for like 72 hours. And then I'm like, you call them again, you follow up. It's like, man, I'm just trying to buy from you. Like, don't make it so hard for me to buy from you. And so when solar, most sophisticated solar companies that are buying leads are going to call them really fast. And I think that that's part of that experience. And, it's a wildly different price point. And, your intro, you alluded to like the why behind, buying leads and paying so much. And it's just like, there's a lot of profit there. There's a lot on the line, a lot of opportunity. And so if you're going to spend $70 or $100 to buy a lead, like call them. Otherwise, you're just throwing money out the door, and it goes out pretty fast too. For anyone who's ever bought leads before.
Before we continue too deep onto the strategy side of leads, I'd love for you to give an introduction about your background and then talk about what Demand IQ is doing.
Yeah, happy to. So I've been in the solar industry since I was 16. I came out to school and studied electrical engineering and focused on renewable energy. And then, I was working at a solar company after college and actually launched this business just shortly thereafter. And that was back in 2017. And so I've been working with brands, specifically large solar brands, in customer acquisition since my whole career. And so this business that we started has taken a few different turns, but where we really found success was helping contractors now of all types. So solar was really an initial market for us, but now of many, many different types of contractors improve their conversion rates, and specifically starting with how to turn clicks into customers more effectively and at a high rate, which means that you can add more sales and generate more leads without having to spend more money on marketing. And so that's exactly what our tool does, is we help you convert higher and get more success and a lower cost of acquisition by improving your conversion rate. And you'd be surprised at how abysmal conversion rates can be if you're not focused on improving them, if you're not focused on actually developing a better system for conversion rates. And to elaborate on that a little further, the way that I looked at it was like that the homeowner experience was so poor, whether it was like the website experience or the follow up, that like we needed to start. And this was back in 2019. I was like, hey, we got to start focusing on that homeowner experience to be able to generate more trust and a better conversion rate by just starting to really think about like what are their pain points. And so some of the pain points that these contractors, that these homeowners had, and myself as a millennial homeowner was experiencing this myself. It's like, hey, buying solar is like kind of scary, that like it's a very opaque process and it like lacks transparency and trust. And there's all these headlines in the news, Time Magazine and Wall Street Journal, about how solars can be a scam. And so these fears like are real, and that, I don't know what I'm going to get if someone knocks on my door, if someone fills out a website form. Like I don't know what the other side of that might be. And so, what I launched initially was a tool for making solar easier to understand and to provide more education and build trust by giving a personalized estimate for that homeowner online. And so we took that old sales model of, waiting and holding back all the information, making it a black box of, somewhat distrusting process, and said, look, like we're honest, we're transparent. And, here's a ballpark cost of what it would cost and what you would save, what it would do for your home value, what it would do for the environment, and made that possible from any contractor's website. So you can instantly see your savings potential and what solar could look like for you from any contractor's website. And so we sell that as a software product that you plug into your website and offer to your homeowners to boost your leads.
That's really interesting, the evolution you've had from early days and that our solar vintage, our solar generation. I'd love for you to talk about some of the contractors you work with, maybe give some specifics around some numbers of where you've seen improvements in conversions, how they're using the platform. If you can use names, that'd be great. If you've done any case studies, just so there's a more specific application that you've seen this work really well for.
Yeah, we have there's tons of case studies on our website, but just to share some of the results, just off the cuff, I know that Solterra Solar in the Washington, Oregon area, they saw a doubling of their conversion rates. So like their website went from, I think it was like 30 to 60 leads per month from their website just from adding this product to their site. And then we have a contractor in New York, a premium provider, someone that's not the cheapest in the market, moving from being transparent, kind of opaque and, the old legacy sales model of sales and marketing, fill out this form, we'll get back to providing that online estimate. And this contractor saw a 75% increase in total leads, and despite a 21% reduction in website traffic. And that company, that case study is on our website as well. But, just seeing those improvements and conversion rate from click to lead, and then improving the quality of those conversions, the quality of those leads means your sales team is spending less time with bad prospects, and that you don't have to call those leads nearly as much if they're of high intent and high likelihood to buy.
Those are some really fantastic numbers. I know both of our platforms are pushing change and disruption into the market, especially given legacy habits that installers have. For the installers that don't move forward with your platform, why, in your opinion? And what would you tell them to say, actually, no, you're making a mistake here. You should be moving forward. This is worth the investment in the change. What would you tell them?
Well, I'd be the first one to tell you that not every contractor, whether you're solar, roofing, any home improvement, is a good fit, right? Not everyone is a good fit for this product. And there are some things that make you a potentially great fit if these things are true. And so the number one thing that is going to determine whether a contractor is a good fit for our product is whether they have traffic. Like, are they getting quality traffic to their website or landing pages already? And, is that something that we can then enhance? And there's a lot of, sometimes we started this conversation off talking about lead buying, and, sometimes there's a misconception about what Demand IQ does, because, people are like, well, you provide leads, don't you? And it's like, well, yeah, we help you generate more leads, but we help you as the key word there, generate more leads, because, you got to have traffic. You got to have someone in-house that like knows what they're doing with their marketing to be able to actually move the needle with this software. So the ones that, some people think, this is a silver bullet for them. They're going to do their whole marketing turnkey using Demand IQ. And it's like, if they don't have the internal resources to support it, it doesn't work. So we try to make sure that we try as best as we can to make sure that contractor has what's required internally before we sell to them. And so in a few cases where that, hasn't been true, or they have to let someone go and they no longer have that, then, a lot of the times that could be a source of, pausing Demand IQ. And what's interesting is we see those customers come back time and time again when they have the right resources to actually utilize it. Or, sometimes folks are like, well, we want to, ramp down our budgets in the winter or something like that. Those are other reasons why contractors stop using Demand IQ.
And so really, is it just having a qualified person to use the software and help scale using it?
It sounds easy. It's a lot harder than it sounds. Just because not that it's hard to use Demand IQ, it's just harder to generate quality traffic. Like, it really is. Like, that's why buying leads is so popular, is because getting people to come to your website just is not as cut and dry as, it sounds. It's hard to get quality people at the right price to visit your website or webpage. We do offer a partner network, and this is something that we're growing a lot right now, is our partner network. So we have software partners, great software partners like Scanify, but we also have marketing partners. So folks that do SEO and folks that do paid advertising. And we're trying to fold those in as it makes sense with clients to help them bolster their traffic and volume so that they can take some of that burden of actually getting that website traffic, off their plate a little bit. But, again, I would never sell this product to someone who, doesn't have traffic and won't see results. So that's kind of the prerequisite.
It reminds me of a plant set company that we're aware of that started by offering just plant sets, which is a fairly commoditized service at this point. And then they started adding permit runners and QA processors and other staff to augment the commoditized product, which allows them to be both stickier and allows installers to scale accordingly without the overhead. So I think your partner, network is something that could augment the groups that use you and your software. If you were to provide advice to installers, to marketing departments as to how to generate website traffic as a lead source, what would be examples of solutions that you would recommend? Is it content? Is it events? Is it paid social? What strategies do you think help drive more website traffic?
Yeah. There's so many, and so much of it depends on your business and your own internal resources and what you're able to manage and or do yourself. But the one thing that I consistently see customers getting results from, it's a long game, but SEO, like search engine optimization, and actually creating quality blog posts and ranking in Google Maps. In what they call, I think the 3-pack. It's just the top 3 listings in Google Maps when someone searches solar contractor, Austin or Denver or wherever it might be. That's really important. It's very important that you're matching the intent or the quality with what you're capable of closing and following up on. So what I mean by that is, if you are generating Facebook leads and have no follow-up system and no ability to actually close and convert those, you're going to fail. You need to match the intent and quality of the leads with what you have internally to actually handle them. So starting with the highest intent leads first, like referrals, and then working your way down to the lowest intent leads is what makes sense. So going with referral, and then you're going to want to go with organic, like what I just mentioned with SEO. And then you probably want to add on paid search, so Google search. So you're still getting search intent, but you're getting people that you had to buy to get there. Beyond that, then it gets a little bit, dicey, and it's been up and down on different channels at different times. So Facebook and Instagram, very popular. It's going to be a more volume, lower cost, but also lower intent. And so if you don't have a call center to follow up on that, it's the same category as buying leads. It's like, you might as well not do it. One thing that we do that alleviates some of that is we actually automate the process of appointment booking through the website. So you're actually able to schedule appointments from the leads that are interested and qualified using Demand IQ. That's one thing that is very helpful, but still, I think we get, depending on the traffic source, somewhere between 20% and 35% of leads to schedule. It can be even lower than that if it's a really bad traffic source. But that does take some of the pressure off you, because it's like, hey, they booked an appointment, like they're, at least somewhat committed. But we do recommend that you confirm those appointments. Like, you need to call them still to confirm the appointment, just to give them that human touch. So that's one thing we've tried to do to kind of reduce that effort. But yeah, I think it was a long-winded answer.
No, it's very helpful context. I mean, there's a lot of ideas here. In some of my conversations with the installers that have been in the industry a long time and that are navigating this rockier period, some of them have really underinvested in their website, and they're all thinking about creative solutions for re-engaging in the market, for generating leads. And they're putting more thought to the digital space. And I wonder, is that the right place to start? The other side of it is, I also am seeing people think creatively about, well, what are we going to do with our marketing budget? We haven't really had a marketing budget. We haven't had marketing people. How do we actually engage leads in a meaningful way that isn't just a blip in time? For you, if you were to advise a marketing department as to who the next hire should be, or what essential people should be on their staff, or how to staff a marketing department, what would you recommend to a solar contractor for what the construct of their marketing department should be?
Let me start with a really good little misunderstanding that business owners have about hiring marketers. There is no such thing as a marketer who can do it all. Period. If they say they can do it all and they know it all, they're wrong. They're lying to you. Okay? So the best thing that you can do is hire someone with good management skills that has a general understanding of at least a few of the different categories, like paid social, like website design, branding, and a few other things, and make sure that they're a good manager, right? Because what I recommend is actually outsourcing to contractors. You can find a contractor that will do your paid social. You can find a contractor that will do your paid search. You can find a contractor that will do your email marketing. You can find a contractor that will do your branding. This is a much, much more scalable and manageable pattern, and you will be far more effective at hiring someone to manage people, manage contractors that you outsource, than you will be trying to find and pay, well into the, low six figures to try to get someone who can quote unquote do it all. And by the way, it's too much work to do it all as well. Like, you can't do it with one person. So if you're just getting started, I highly recommend finding someone who you trust, that you like the work that they're producing, you feel like their ability to write copy aligns with what that you like. You feel like they have a good, trustworthy understanding of paid advertising, as well as maybe some general understanding of organic and getting some of that messaging out without having to pay for ads. So there's tons of marketers out there. Don't get locked in under long contracts with any of these contractors that you hire. Like, you can just do month to month agreements. You pay them a few $1,000 a month, $1,000 to $3,000 a month to manage one of those channels, and then they will build something for you. And it's really up to that person you hire internally to manage it, whether you'll be successful in making sure that you're identifying whether a contractor is delivering or not, and replacing them if they're not. That's my best advice.
Is there a contractor network like Upwork or something else that you recommend going to find these people?
That's a good question. Upwork is a little dicey. One thing, I actually just hired a marketing contractor myself, and one thing the person said to me, I opened up a LinkedIn like job description for this role, and it was like, it's like well written, really well defined, and I got like plenty of people applying for this role. But the person that I ended up hiring actually didn't apply to that role, and actually I didn't find them through my network either. I actually saw them commenting on something in LinkedIn, and I liked what he had to say on LinkedIn about a topic that was relevant to his role. And so I messaged him and I said, "Hey, like, I think that you would be a great fit for this role. Can you take a look at this?" And he said, "Sure." So then I asked him, I said, I had all of these applications here of all these people, but you didn't apply. And he said, "Well, yeah, that's because I've got my plate full." And he said, people who are doing well in their role, if they're just focused on a couple clients, like, they're not applying to your jobs. They're not applying to your Upwork post, or they're not applying to your LinkedIn thing. So yeah, it's tough to find those people. I would say, referrals through your network is going to be one. Go ask a solar company. You know what? Like, go ask a solar company where you see them doing really well, how they're doing it. As scary as that might sound, see if you can network in and find out, who's doing it. And especially if you're non-competitive markets, like, you're going to find that there's a lot more marketing tribal knowledge sharing than you might think. I hear all the time, we just had a really large contractor, multi-state contractor, say, "Hey, Austin, I need to network with more people that have my job. Can you introduce me to more marketers who can do this?" And so ask them who they're working with. Find people in your same role and ask them which contractors they're using, because these contractors probably have room to add another person to their roster of clients. So that's my recommendation. Don't go, blitz on hiring, internal people. Get one really trusted person and then get yourself some really good contractors. That's my recommendation.
Are there certain functions or roles that you would do in-house exclusively, or the opposite, you would always outsource? You'd always find
Yeah.
a contractor for it.
Okay. Brand work, like owning your brand, which includes your website, which includes all of your assets, like all of your graphics and assets and, you know, all those things. You, ideally you're doing it like have someone in-house that owns them, that like knows what they're doing enough to even work with an agency. Like you can work with an agency to develop those assets, but like you really need someone who has expertise over branding inside your business. It's really important because everything kind of like the brand is like the foundation on which all of these things are built. Like if you don't have a good brand and website and all these things, like you're going to have trouble adding the Google on and adding the Facebook on and adding these other channels on. So yeah, you got to have, I recommend that manager person that you hire does know a lot about branding. Now, the thing I would say you can always outsource, there's always people who will do paid advertising and always people who will do SEO. Those ones, but the thing that you need to just be careful of is just there's a lot of junk out there in the ways of contractors offering services that just aren't going to work. They don't know what they're doing or they don't care enough. Like that's probably the biggest problem for hiring contractors is just like that they don't care enough about you as a client and they're going to just ride the contract out. They're going to do the absolute bare minimum amount of work and they're not going to give you the value that you're looking for. So you got to have that internal marketer that has enough know whereabouts of the program to say, I don't know if that doesn't smell right. That doesn't look right. I don't think that person is doing a good job. And so you need to make sure that if you found yourself in a situation with a contractor like that you let them go early, that you identify it not going well and you let them go early.
I imagine there are certain roles that are clearly project-based or results-driven that are easy to outsource and to quickly get a feedback loop on performance. And then there are other ones that are a little bit more qualitative or fluffier. Maybe it's a branding exercise. And so having things that are more project-based be the outsourced solutions, having things that are continual or recurring or specialized be in-house provide a lot of value as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a delicate line. I think, just operating lean, like, staying lean. There was so much solar companies like really spent hard in 2020, 2022. Like they got really bloated, hired all these people, but staying scrappy, like, if you hire that one good internal person in your company and you just say, hey, I need you to be scrappy and resourceful, that's important. You got to just stay scrappy with your marketing.
Yeah, I spoke with a solar CEO yesterday who talked about getting so much business right now that they can't keep up and he's turning it away, which is something I haven't heard too often recently. And he said he's not looking to grow quickly. He's going to hire a couple people each year at most. I don't know if this is a product of living through the last few years or reading the headlines for the last few years or just a great large local or regional business growing incrementally year after year after year to be mindful of those ups and downs that happen in our industry.
Yeah.
Have you seen marketing departments, lead gen departments, sales departments, catch all top of funnel evolve since you've started doing this? I mean, you have been intimately involved with a lot of these companies through the website channel, through your business, and just speaking to the market for a long time since you were young. Have you seen an evolution in how contractors are approaching this or marketing leaders are approaching this effort?
Yeah. Yes and no. It's sort of some of the same problems over and over. Lack of experience, overestimating their capabilities of in-house experience and then trying to do too much and then just realizing they're over their skis and they have to pull it back. I mean, the one thing that has changed is like the technology has changed so much that you can use, whether it's, the roller coaster ride that was the Facebook heyday back in the day through to like the famine of Facebook to now really like the rise of, AI and follow up and, all the different technology pieces that you need in your tech stack. Like, for example, Go High Level. I don't know if Jason, I don't know if you've ever heard of Go High Level. Is that, anything about that?
No. You always know all these software companies that, again, are
It's,
very niche, that are
it's
very impressive.
it's part
Yeah.
of my job to like know about all these tools, because it's like marketing is its own tech stack. I think people talk about, the solar software stack or whatever tech stack, and it's like, yeah, but the marketing stack is like 9 to 12 of those softwares. So it's like, then those are constantly changing. Like our tech stack is, I'm constantly signing up for different, sub $200 a month or sub $300 a month software subscriptions to see which things can, help me with my marketing. And so I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah, it's important. What was the original question? I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
No, I mean, well, for the takeaway is
Oh,
very
how has it
interesting
changed?
around the
How has
marketing
it
side.
changed?
But yeah, how have
It has,
things evolved? Yeah.
yes. Yeah. So, same problems, different day, people overcommitting to what they think they can do. But yeah, that tech stack, like for example, High Level, is an incredible tool that marketers have really taken to within the solar industry, and really all home improvements, to be able to cover a lot of their bases and a lot of their different needs as a marketer. So yeah, like that's what's changed. The other thing that's crazy valuable is like the ability to write copy and create content so quickly with AI. Like if you're not using ChatGPT as a solar marketer, like you're so far behind right now. It's by far the most valuable tool in the tool belt as a marketer. Period, in my opinion.
I'm going to double down on your last suggestion with ChatGPT, and go back to your comment about SEO. We've always believed in a content first strategy at Scanify, and we believe in educating and delivering value to the community, knowing that value will come back. So we've always been very heavy in written content. This last year, we have expanded that to other forms of creative, like this podcast, or videos, whether they're kind of kooky videos of me on a roof or more thoughtful videos with insight. We have a comic series now to satirically poke fun at the odd things that go on in our industry. But as it relates to written content, I'll share what one of our strategies is more recently is we might have an idea, or I might have thoughts or an opinion on a certain matter. And on a long car ride, I'll just talk to an AI bot for 10 to 20 minutes by myself in the car, take that transcript and dump it into ChatGPT. And what comes out of it as a summary is about 80 to 90% of the way there. It's probably written more eloquently than I would ever write a first draft. And then afterwards, I go through it and I tweak it all to both sound the way I want it to sound, or to make sure it's structured accordingly. I'll even go as far as in my transcript, I'll say, all right, ChatGPT, we are writing a blog post about the following. And then I ramble for about 10 minutes. And then I say, okay, ChatGPT, now I want you to take this content and I want the paragraphs to be intro, this topic, 3 bodies with examples, and close with a message for the future. And it is unreal how efficient content creation is. You could probably even tell ChatGPT to underscore certain SEO words, and they would. And it speeds up the flow. I mean, I think there's a lot of value in still having a copywriter as a contractor to save time, but that ability to produce written content and other forms of content is a complete game changer than when I was sitting down in 2018 and 2019 writing my own insights on the industry. It's been
Yeah.
unbelievable.
I mean, for a lot of people, myself included, it's the difference of doing it or not doing it, because it makes it so much faster. It's like, hey, oh, we need a new LinkedIn, bio for the company. Oh, bam, 5 seconds later, it's like that stuff. I used to sit there and deliberate over how to, present our company in the best just bio description. I don't know if you did, Jason, just as a startup founder, like those things like really mattered as a, when you're trying to get into the accelerators and when you're trying to like, put in the deck and whatever it is, you need like that AI, that ability to just, hey, here's a few just brain dumps and can you make this beautiful, is so incredibly powerful for really any business owner or marketer. Like it really is I mean, even, you got to write a tough email to a customer, it's like, all right, well, sometimes I'll ask, I'll be like, hey, like, how does this sound? Does this come off? Like, what's the tone of this? Like, can you tell me what the tone of it is? And it's nice to have a kind of indifferent sounding board that, like, you can get some feedback on. It's crazy how that you can actually talk with AI. I know that we use it to do things, but you can to actually ask it questions and get its thoughts. Like, that is another level that I've only started kind of dabbling in with ChatGPT of recent, that, like, to actually try to get its thoughts and opinions on things and try to get it in, like, it's a very unbiased opinion. But yeah, it's very interesting. And Jason, I think your one thing that I'll point out that I've seen is your videos and some of your content is very organic and genuine. And so that's another thing when it comes to, I mean, some of the things we're kind of teetering on here is like a little more B2B than B2C, but in general, just for the point here, being very genuine with your content and your message, and not sounding like the next person, the person next to you, or the next 12 people in line, to sell something, like, that really helps for sure. The other thing that really helps is, giving someone something of great value, that, like, that thing of great value to them. I don't know exactly if I have a great way to execute that in the B2C world, but certainly in the B2B side, we want to make sure we're trying to really give you something truly valuable and not just kind of fluffy.
People can see through it if it's fluffy and it's inauthentic. And I almost want to combine your last two comments, which is, I've done ChatGPT and I put an email draft in it and I've said, please make this sound more authentic.
Yeah.
Please make this sound more personable. Everyone writes kind of a harsh email, or maybe the tone in your email comes across not what you mean it. And to your point, you can have that back and forth. Hey, please rewrite that blog post, but make it more academic sounding, or make it more approachable. And it will. I find that not only saves time, but before it, you and I probably struggle to find enough headspace to have that sit down time. So
Yeah.
it allows you to be your best self at speed when used the right way.
Totally. And it's funny because one of my sales team members was, and this is something actually I think totally is applicable for solar sales as well. One of my sales team members was, like, writing an email, and this person sent us an email, and it was, like, really abrasive. It was like an inbound lead, and it was, like, really abrasive, and they were, like, demanding information. And it's just like, yo, this is starting things off on a bad foot here. Like, we're happy to give you the information you're looking for, but just, like, when you demand and say things, you're not, like, you're demanding things and need it right now. It's like, okay. But I was like, because she was copied on it and I was copied on it, I was like, I was about to just, like, bang back an email and, like, be like, like, I don't think we're going to meet with you. Like, I don't know that, like, you don't think I really need your business that bad. And she wrote back this, she used ChatGPT, but she wrote back this really elegant email, and it, like, was very nice about it. And, she ended up converting him into a customer. We'll see how he is as a customer. But like, I wrote her back and I was like, oh man, like, thank you for jumping in there with that nice email. And I didn't even think about it at the time that she used ChatGPT. I actually gave her a little shout out on, like, a town hall, and was like, hey, thanks for writing that email. It was like, well done. And by the way, your emails recently, because, like, when I see them and I'm CC'd on it, it's like, your emails have been really good recently. Like, I really like your tone. You're really professional and you're coming off really well to our clients. And she said, oh yeah, ChatGPT's, doing a really good job. And I'm like, yeah, it is. But, like, also, you're telling it what to do. Like, and it doesn't sound inauthentic. Like, you're controlling it. And I think ChatGPT's ability to actually learn has just gotten so incredible, like, that it really does, like, evolve. Like, if you were to start a new ChatGPT account versus the one that you've been using, I'm guessing that it's going to sound a bit different when it writes content to you. I think it learns from its feedback that it's been receiving.
That's really interesting. That's a great use case that we've seen as well. I want to touch on one more topic if you're open to sharing. I know that solar is an incredible passion of yours, but you did make the decision to pursue other home improvement industries. I'd love to, if you're willing to share, understand how you made that decision and what that evolution has been for you and the business.
Yeah, the answer is super simple. We are a very niche product, right? the improvement of conversion rate for your website, right? We don't charge a wild amount of money for this software, and there's a limited number of solar companies out there. And the reality is, if we want to stay laser focused on just that one problem and that one solution, we need to be able to offer it to more industries and more people. But we can be the best of the best at solving that problem because we're laser focused on just that problem instead of solving project management and proposals and design and CRM and all these other things, right? So because we've chosen to be laser focused on just that one sliver, we're the best in the industry, or the best software you can buy for solving that problem. And as a venture-backed company, we want to grow, and we need to grow, and so we need to service more contractors and more contractor types. Obviously, my passion sits with solar, as I'm sure you can tell, and you can tell from my background. But there's a lot of new stuff going on across all these home improvements, and in fact, solar companies are now selling roofs, and they're doing HVAC, and they're doing heat pumps and all these different things. So it's like, hey, this actually ends up being a great thing for us and for our customers because we offer flexibility. There's no one else on the market that offers what we offer for all these different categories, and our customers benefit from that. For one single subscription, they're getting access to instant estimates and a really rich online experience for all the products that they sell if they sell multiple.
That's super helpful context. And it is true. I do believe that solar installers are more becoming home electrification businesses. So as always, you are kind of a step ahead and on the cutting edge. So just to wrap things up, if I can draw some takeaways here. Websites are critical, especially if they want to work with your business.
Leads
come in.
Websites with traffic.
Websites with traffic.
There's plenty of websites that are out there that no one's ever seen before. So
yep. Leads come in all flavors, but you got to action them and call them quickly. There isn't one solution for a marketing department, but it's important to be thoughtful around who you staff internally. Ideally, someone with a managerial pedigree and can have a good grasp on branding and nuances to your business. And then if it's less nuanced, more project specific, quantifiable, outsource that out, stay on top of it. And be mindful that solar is consistently evolving, and there's not too many differences with other home improvement industries, and they're kind of blending together right now. And lastly, obviously, the power of AI to inform the entire tech stack, but in particular, the marketing tech stack that you are really incredibly knowledgeable about.
Totally. And then one thing I'll just add to that is make friends with people in other markets that are doing solar that you respect. Reach out to them and say, hey, I'm starting a business over here. I really admire the business you've built. I can see that you've put a lot of time into building XYZ component of your marketing, or, I've seen that your, door-to-door team is crushing it, or whatever it might be. Like, branch out and network with those other business owners and learn from them and partner with them. There's obviously some sensitivity around competitiveness. So, inside your own markets, that might not be the case, but you can learn from these other business owners. And a lot of I have a few handful of close business owner friends, solar business owner friends, and they're like, the ones that, have these connections really benefit from this like group think of all facets of their business. So if you're not doing that already, go make some friends, go get some beers, come out with us, get some beers with us, come hang out. We'll introduce you to some people.
And I know you guys will make introductions for groups, and so will we. So it's a fantastic closing note, especially given how small the solar industry is, but how important it is that we scale it as a group. So Austin, thank you so much for the insight. Thanks for all these great suggestions, ideas, software recommendations, strategies, and we really appreciate everything.
Cool. Thanks, Jason.